The internet explodes. Xi's visit to Europe, wheelchair and photo draws attention. IKEA becomes poor man's canteen among Chinese youth, sparks debate. Hidden starvation, CCP regulations decimate Douyin sector. SoftBank, Alibaba part ways as profit drops 11%, an era ends. Frequent child disappearances and young girls killed in China, experts analyze root causes. Embracing communist China was United States' greatest strategic failure. It's all covered in today's China Truths. The internet explodes. Xi's visit to Europe, wheelchair and photo draws attention. French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte recently hosted a grand welcome ceremony at the Élysée Palace for Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping and his wife Peng Liyuan. This visit drew worldwide attention, particularly during the meeting between Xi, Macron, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, where a wheelchair strategically placed near Hua Chunying raised eyebrows. The wheelchair was presumably for emergency use. Observers suggest that the wheelchair was likely placed due to Xi's age and his apparent difficulty walking, to accommodate any potential health issues. Upon his arrival at the Élysée Palace, Xi walked alone in front of the honor guard for nearly 40 seconds before Macron came forward to shake his hand. The footage showed Xi limping significantly, which some speculated could be a sign of stroke aftereffects. According to the Sound of Hope, this isn't the first time rumors of Xi having a stroke have surfaced online. Last August, Xi unexpectedly skipped the most important business forum at the BRICS summit in South Africa, which was covered by the Minister of Commerce, although he appeared at the dinner later that evening, sparking speculation. A social media influencer later suggested that Xi had suffered a minor stroke. On May 5, when Xi arrived at Paris Orly International Airport, a video that went viral showed him tightly holding onto Peng Liyuan's hand as they slowly descended the stairs. China Central Television aired a distant shot of the couple descending the stairs, making it impossible to discern their expressions and movements. Some footage of them deplaning was even outright deleted, possibly in an attempt to hide something. IKEA becomes poor man's canteen among Chinese youth, sparks debate. IKEA, the renowned Swedish furniture retailer, has recently become a popular social spot for young Chinese, earning the nickname poor man's canteen. To better align with the Chinese market, IKEA has implemented several price cuts since last August, including cost-effective strategies at its new global boutique in Shanghai, which opened on April 9. To attract more customers, IKEA introduced Crazy Friday dining discounts from March 15 to April 30 this year, offering ice cream for 1 yuan, about 14 cents, and meal sets for just 9.9 yuan, about $1.37. Many netizens remarked that while discount trends have taken off in dining, it was unexpected to see a Nordic company adapting local customs so fully. The poor man's meal craze has indeed swept through IKEA. Its emphasis on experiential shopping, with cozy sofas and warm lighting, provides a low-cost leisure and resting environment for financially strapped youth. The spacious, well-lit restaurant interiors with simple, inviting decor and reasonably priced meals allow young people to enjoy a quality lifestyle without breaking the bank. As China's economy continues to struggle and consumer spending remains low, many businesses have resorted to offering poor man's meals to stay afloat. A viral online recipe outlines a budget-friendly day, a 3 yuan, about 42 cents, all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet, a 19.9 yuan, about $2.76, KFC lunch deal, a 9.9 yuan afternoon coffee, and a 10 yuan evening noodle meal from 7-Elevens. After 8:30 p.m., shoppers head to HameFresh to snag discounted items. HameFresh, also known as Freshipo, is a chain of high-tech supermarkets under Alibaba Group. Reports suggest that IKEA's shift to the poor man's cafeteria mirrors broader socio-economic and cultural changes in China. Yet, some Weibo users argue that IKEA's meals aren't as affordable as advertised. Others lament the loss of freebies, like the free coffee is gone, likely because too many were exploiting it, and now they charge 5 yuan, about 69 cents, or so for a cup. The cheapest 9.9 yuan, about $1.37, Meal is too small to fill an adult man, and eating enough costs at least 30 yuan, about $4.16. How is that cheap? Questions also arise about regional pricing disparities. Why is IKEA so expensive in Guangdong? It's pricey in Harbin too, only the ice cream and free coffee are deals. Not only international brands like IKEA, but local brands have also adopted this trend. Nanchangxiang, a popular Chinese fast food brand, offers a 3 yuan, about 42 cents, unlimited breakfast drink buffet. Lao Xiangji, another Chinese fast food chain, serves a 14.9 yuan, about $2.06, two-dish rice meal. Nice offers a 9.9 yuan, about $1.37, bun and tea combo, and Starbucks features a snack and drink deal for under 20 yuan, about $2.77. Hidden starvation, CCP regulations decimate Douyin sector. The Chinese Communist government has tightened its control again, and this time Douyin, refers to the Chinese version of TikTok, is feeling the heat. In May, Douyin announced a ban on posting content in several categories. According to the platform, this move aims to enhance the experience for creators by discontinuing support for commercial promotional accounts that focus primarily on social politics, finance, law, or medical topics, especially those with high follower counts and significant influence. These changes will start taking effect from the 15th. Essentially, this restriction will either limit or outright prevent certain types of posts, affecting the financial livelihoods of those accounts and making it difficult for them to operate. This decision has sparked extensive commentary among the Chinese public. One user wryly noted, "It's a Chinese custom to avoid saying death in front of someone who's dying." Another commenter said, "If the rooster doesn't crow, the sun won't rise." They're now banning political and financial content, leaving only the lowest, most dehumanizing stuff. By silencing voices, they're filling every corner with negative energy. This app might as well entertain us to death. Dance and song. Peace and prosperity. A little flattery and everything's fixed. As for the CCP's restrictions on online discourse, many point out that while this ban on serious discussion doesn't affect those who've already ditched the platform, it's still significant. On NetEase, a Chinese media site, thousands of comments have poured in, many calling Douyin a mental drug, full of vulgar content that negatively influences young people. One comment read, "After seeing Douyin's new rules, it's clear why the US is targeting it." Meanwhile, the US has given ByteDance a year to sell TikTok or face a ban. In the broader context of China's economy, there's a sentiment that the CCP's stringent controls are stripping many Chinese of their livelihoods. A user from Jilin sarcastically stated that platforms like Kuaishou refers to a Chinese video sharing and social media platform, similar to Douyin, and TikTok are now crucial to China's employment and economy. There's a concern that if regulatory actions intensify, more people will find themselves without a means to make a living. SoftBank, Alibaba part ways as profit drops 11%, an era ends? According to a report from United Daily News on May 15, SoftBank Group has sold nearly all of its shares in Alibaba Group, drastically reducing its ownership stake to almost zero. Earlier in January, it was reported that Alibaba's founder, Jack Ma, and chairman Joseph Tsai had increased their stakes in the company during the last quarter, with Ma's holdings surpassing the 4.3% reported at the end of 2021, making him the largest shareholder. Masayoshi Son, CEO of SoftBank, has supported Alibaba since 2000 when it was just a fledgling, relatively unknown company less than a year old. Son invested $20 million in Alibaba, reportedly making the decision within minutes of meeting Jack Ma. By 2004, after additional investments and several adjustments, SoftBank owned up to 34.4% of Alibaba's shares. With sustained support from SoftBank, Alibaba not only became the leading e-commerce company in China but also one of the largest tech companies globally. However, the recent crackdown on tech companies by the Chinese government has led to a bear market in technology stocks. Alibaba's stock prices have been declining since the halt of the IPO for its affiliate, Ant Group, by Chinese regulators at the end of 2020. Now, with SoftBank selling off nearly all its Alibaba shares, some analysts view this as the end of an era. Yesterday, Alibaba Group released its financial results for the fourth quarter, January to March 2024, and the fiscal year 2024, April 2023 to March 2024, before the U.S. stock market opened. The fourth quarter saw revenues of 221.874 billion yuan, about $30.74 billion US dollars, up 7% from the previous year, though adjusted net profits fell by 11% to 24.42 billion yuan, about $3.4 billion USD. Reuters reported that despite a rise in fourth quarter revenue, Alibaba's net profit attributable to shareholders plummeted by 86.09% year-on-year to 3.27 billion yuan, about $453 million US dollars, with earnings per share at 0.16 yuan, about 2.2 cents, resulting in a 5.6% drop in Alibaba's stock price at the opening of the U.S. stock market. Frequent child disappearances and young girls killed in China, experts analyze root causes. Last month, the Supreme People's Court of China reported an alarming rise in crimes against women and children. In detail, in 2023, Chinese courts resolved 41,000 criminal cases involving minors, handing down sentences to 44,056 offenders, with 26,763 receiving sentences of 5 years or more, marking a high rate of severe sentences at 61%. Notably, sexual assault cases are increasing, and there is a serious issue of minors being abused by family members. Since June 1, 2021, China has enforced the law on the protection of minors and the law on the prevention of juvenile delinquency. However, over 2 years later, the rate of juvenile delinquency is still rising, casting doubt on the effectiveness of these laws. Regarding this matter, Zhang Jing, chair of a US-based Chinese women's rights group, argues that the data clearly shows the laws have failed to protect minors or curb juvenile crime. She expressed to the Sound of Hope that the Chinese government has neglected its duty to protect vulnerable children by not allocating sufficient funds to assist and prevent crime among minors. She criticized the government for not doing enough to support their mental and physical well-being, suggesting that it's time for the government to reassess its responsibilities. Furthermore, the number of missing persons in China has been on the rise year after year. At a public event in 2017 organized by Tencent and the Fujian Provincial Public Security Department, a reporter from the China News Service stated that the number of people missing that year reached a staggering 8 million. In February 2021, the China Missing Persons White Paper, 2020, published by the Chinese Civil Society Assistance Research Institute showed that approximately 1 million people went missing in China in 2020 alone, according to partial data. It's unclear how many of these missing are women and children, but the numbers are starkly disturbing. Former Chinese journalist Zhao Lanjian argues that the problem of missing persons, especially the significant number of women and children, is rooted in systemic issues driven by China's oppressive socio-political system. He asserts that the Chinese Communist Party does not allow the families of missing persons to speak up or allow any voices of dissent. They also withhold information, contributing to the lack of transparency around the trafficking and disappearance of persons. This lack of transparency is a principal reason for the rising instances of trafficking women and children. Zhao shared with the Sound of Hope that in 2022, when he was investigating the Iron Chain Woman case in Nujiang, Yunnan, he faced opposition and suppression from police across several provinces and cities. After submitting evidence related to the case to the Ministry of Public Security, he faced even stricter prohibitions, leading to the deletion of all his related internet personal information and an expulsion order. This forced him to flee to the United States. He concludes, a society without truth is inevitably a dark society. In this darkness in China? Take, for example, China's Internet Administration Office, which blocks any dissemination of information about missing persons online. The national media, controlled solely by them, dares not report on these issues. Ultimately, the problem of missing persons is deeply entrenched in the systemic flaws of Chinese society. Embracing communist China was United States' greatest strategic failure. Mr. Jim Fannell, a retired U.S. Navy captain, shares his insightful perspectives in his analysis titled Embracing Communist China Was the United States' Greatest Strategic Failure. Let's delve into his observations. According to him, the world today is in crises, ranging from the prolonged Ukrainian war to the Hamas terrorist attacks on October 7, 2023, the ongoing Middle East conflicts, and sovereignty disputes in the South China Sea. These crises are persistent and their roots aren't just in Moscow or Tehran, but primarily in Washington and Beijing. Essentially, these global crises stem from two major strategic errors by the United States. Firstly, the U.S. failed to recognize the serious threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party. Secondly, it failed to effectively counter this threat. As a result, the U.S. is now at risk of losing its global leadership as the CCP collaborates more boldly with autocratic leaders like Vladimir Putin of Russia and the Iranian mullahs. Americans need to understand the three underlying reasons for the dire strategic situation they're facing. Initially, American elites were blinded by the victory narrative of the end of history, which falsely assumed that modernizing nations like China were inevitably moving towards democratization and free market economies. This led to a significant underestimation of threats, especially from the CCP, as great power conflicts were considered things of the past. Moreover, American business interests and financiers have relentlessly pursued economic gains from their dealings with Beijing, aiding China's rise and its integration into the Western economic system, notably marked by the CCP's entry into the World Trade Organization. The influence of the CCP on major U.S. political parties and the political elite has obstructed effective policymaking and fostered a complacent global outlook. The prevailing engagement school of thought, which argued that more interaction with the CCP would make China a responsible global player and lead to its democratization, essentially allowed the U.S. to inadvertently support and strengthen its adversary. Thirdly, Deng Xiaoping's subtle political warfare further played down any perceived threats from the CCP by profiting from and shaping Western perceptions, all the while using economic allure to influence Western actions. Over decades, the CCP cleverly concealed its real ambitions under the guise of economic development for the betterment of humanity, rather than for strategic dominance or the party's benefit. Today, the CCP is leveraging its newfound global stature to undermine U.S. national security, particularly in strategic regions like the East and South China Seas and Taiwan, and through its proxies in Iran and Russia. Therefore, according to Mr. Fannell, to address this threat, Washington first needs to see Communist China for what it is, an aggressive great power that seeks the overthrow of the United States. Second, the United States must support the education of strategists so younger generations may understand how to defeat the PRC. Education in the principles of power politics and the CCP's ideology are essential to achieve victory. Thirdly, there must be sustained presidential leadership to define the enemy, educate the American people, and generate the necessary whole-of-government response. Fourthly, the failure of the intelligence community to identify China as an existential threat greatly weakened the ability of U.S. national security decision-makers to identify and act against the threat. The fundamental assumptions regarding China's behavior were informed by the engagement school of thought. Ultimately, and perversely, the intelligence community was aiding threat deflation for a generation. This must be reversed. Fifth, U.S. military leadership did not recognize and prepare for China's emergence as a formidable military power. It must also be held accountable for the current state of unpreparedness. Specifically, the failure of the U.S. Navy's leadership to recognize the centrality of the maritime domain to the CCP's grand strategy and its naval modernization efforts stands in stark contrast to the proactive performance of prior generations of admirals from World War II through the Cold War with the Soviet Union. Leadership needs to prioritize rebuilding the U.S. Navy to meet the CCP threat. The author concluded, the United States aided the rise of its enemy. Now, the Kremlin and Iran are operating in the strategic space that the PRC provides them. That space and Beijing's aggression will only increase if the United States does not act to end its threat of deflation, break the chokehold of the engagement school on the U.S. foreign policy establishment, and defeat the CCP by evicting it from power. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.